Herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Folge von Meierlicious. Heute geht es um Öl- und Energiemanagement. Ich habe mir wieder einen Gast eingeladen, Greear, Henny Penny Produktmanager aus den USA. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I told my customers a lot of possibility of oil saving, energy saving. What comes to the end, it saves money for them. Could you give us a little bit more of an idea what that means and how they can save money, how they can improve their turnover a year by using high quality oil?
Sure. So one of the things we think is very important for Henny Penny is the built-in filtration. So all the products that we sell, all the fryers that we sell have built-in filtration.
The pressure fryer, the open fryer?
Yes.
The holding?
Whether it be no holding, just frying.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So with each individual product has a little bit different filtration, but they all have built-in filtration. So whether it's the forehead or the open fryer you see here, which has built-in manual filtration, or the Evolution Elite, which has your push-button automated filtration, all the way up to your pressure fryer Velocity, which also has built-in filtration, but it's an automated process. So it can be anywhere on those ranges, but it's important that the filtration is there, because that's going to extend your oil life. And typically, if you're filtering when you're supposed to filter, you can typically double the life of your oil versus if you're if you're not filtering. So that's very important.
So I can run only with the half of oil I usually use for a year.
Yeah, if you're not filtering, doing the filtering makes that much of a difference.
If you go with the filtering procedure.
Yeah.
All right. This is a single vat, a single well. If I have 3 or 4 valves, does they also have an integrated filter system?
Yes, they have the integrated filtration system that will work with all those vats. And the nice thing is you can individually filter each vat, and while you're filtering that vat, if you have more loads, you can still be cooking in those vats, so it doesn't take away, doesn't take the whole fryer down. It just takes that individual vat filtration. So.
But with a pressure fryer, I only have the chance to filter while I'm not frying.
Correct.
But does it take long? How long does it take?
It doesn't take long. So with this one, it's probably going to take you about 5 or 6 minutes to do a filter. And the nice thing is with all of our controls, it has, when you program the product, you can put built-in reminders in there, so it'll actually remind you when it's a filter. So as an operator, because you are busy in the kitchen, you don't have to worry about being reminded of when to do it. It'll actually give you that reminder, and you can set it up so that, like with a pressure fryer where you only have 1 vat, you can do it at times like after lunch and between dinner, where it's a slower time and you may not need to cook, or at the end of the day, late at night after you're shutting everything down. So that way you can be sure that you're not interrupting your kitchen operations.
Especially in Germany, we have peak times and then we have low volume times. Here in the US, you have sometimes peak times the whole day. So, but for us, there is enough time to do the recovering of the filter. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. But how do I know? It tells me filtering, but when do I know I have to exchange the oil, or how can I monitor my oil quality?
Sure. So particularly here in Germany, I know it's very important they have regulations around the oil quality and when it needs to be disposed. So I believe it's 24% ppm. And so what it's really important is to make sure, because in Germany, if you go past that point and somebody comes in and checks your oil, then obviously you could face a fine or even possibly shutting down the kitchen. So this is a good example of a handheld tester that you can easily put down the oil, and you can, the typical is to swirl around to make sure you're getting a good combination of where the oil is, and it'll give you a reading, and that'll help you determine when you need to get rid of your oil and what level of quality that you're at.
Yeah, that's cool. And the cool thing is that you can get those testers also from us here. It's a nice thing to monitor your oil, and you know all the time do you have to change the oil or not? And Matt, oil filtering, usually I know from my former time in restaurants, I had to take on a Google gloves, what is it?
The bib, yeah.
The bib, yeah. And it's very messy. So you say it's built in. Does it mean I have to change my clothes or?
No, because it's all built into the fryer, there's no actually handling of the oil during the process.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, the old style, you may have to take the oil out and physically filter it through a strainer almost.
Yes.
Whereas this, everything is built into the filter pan. It flushes the oil through that all inside the system.
It's all inside.
So you don't have to handle any of that hot oil. So not only is it better, but it's much safer and easier for sure.
So it saves also manpower.
Correct. And you don't have to worry about a situation where somebody could potentially burn themselves or hurt themselves. And in a lawsuit, you can make sure your employees are going to be safe, which is important as well.
That is awesome. And because of the changing energy situation we're facing this year, 2022, with a high rise of gas and electric power, do you have something helps us to reduce waste of energy? What do I do now when I'm not cooking? So is it still heating or?
Yeah, so there's a nice feature built into all our fryers also that's we call idle mode. So basically what it allows you to do is...
We would call it standby mode.
Standby, okay.
But
same concept. The idea being, if you're not using, like you mentioned before, if you have a fryer that has multiple vats, you may be during that slow time you mentioned during the afternoon where you only need to have one vat available to cook. Those other two vats, you can go to that standby mode, and what it does is you can set it a lower temperature.
Okay.
So let's say if you're normally at 172 degrees Celsius, you might set that down to like 100 degrees Celsius. So that way you're not continuing to apply heat to the oil. And again, you're conserving energy, but the other thing that you're doing is you're also not destroying your oil. So it has multiple advantages. And then obviously, if you have a rush or need to have that fryer back up, you can quickly turn it back on, and it'll heat back up and be ready to cook. But it gives you the ability to set that temperature back. So again, you save energy and you also can save your oil.
I'm not sure if you have that in the US, but in the car industry in Germany, it's very common to have such a mode. If you're on a traffic light, the motor goes off.
Correct.
And when the traffic light is green, you push the gas button.
And it starts again.
And then it starts again. So it's the same.
It's a very good analogy. Very similar type of idea.
Okay. What I've learned with frying is we have a filter medium we use. There is a prime filter pad and a prime filter powder. Why do you suggest to use that, or why do you think we should use it? What is the advantage of it?
So this basically is just one more tool that you have to help you extend the oil life. So there's a lot of different products out there, and we talked about the importance of filtration. This just adds another piece because it has the built-in chemical, or I guess the component into it that it basically allows it, when you get those basically free fatty acids, that's what happens when the oil breaks down. It collects those by a process and pulls those out of the oil. And so by having the pad, which has the powder impregnated in it, or using the powder by itself, it helps pull those things out, and again, it helps extend the life of the oil.
Okay. Yeah, so all that stuff together helps me to have control about my oil consumption.
Correct.
And also the energy consumption.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is important to explain to you guys, that this is something you can have your own hand on, to have control on your oil consumption. And thank you, Matt, for all that information.
Yep. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Good to have you here, my friend.
Take care.